Hello and welcome back to Music Corner here on Brian's Things That Are Cool. Right here is my record collection. And if you look through all of this, you'll see a number of record labels represented, from Liberty, Del-Fi, Coral, RCA, but probably none more than Sun Records. In this episode, I'd like to look back at where it all began. Memphis, Tennessee in the 1940s. A former DJ and radio engineer for WLAY in Muscle Shoals, Alabama, named Sam Phillips, was working as an announcer and sound engineer for radio station WREC. Inspired by his former station's open format of broadcasting music by white and black musicians alike, Sam wanted to capture some new sounds. And on January 3rd, 1950, he opened the Memphis Recording Service at 706 Union Avenue. His new business adopted the motto, "We record anything, anywhere, anytime." And the Memphis Recording Service lived up to that motto, recording weddings and funerals. Sam's willingness to hear anyone attracted musicians from all around Memphis to cross the threshold of 706 Union, and other labels started to pay Sam to record the likes of Howling Wolf and B.B. King. One such record was Rocket 88 by Jackie Brenston and the Delta Cats. Ike Turner and the Kings of Rhythm were a popular rhythm and blues act in the South in the early 1950s. Ike had a reputation as a great piano player and songwriter, before he had a reputation for other things. And because he played in a number of bands as a traveling musician, he developed a style that combined jazz, blues, and country. One night, after a gig at the Riverside Hotel in Clarksdale, Mississippi, Ike got a call from his friend B.B. King, saying he had set up a recording session for Ike in Memphis the next day. Ike decided to write a brand new song for the session. Without much time to do so, he borrowed heavily from a number of other songs. Some of the lyrics were lifted from 1947's Cadillac Boogie by Jimmy Liggins, and the name and driving piano line was inspired by Pete Johnson's 1949 record, Rocket 88 Boogie. The band arrived at the doorstep of Memphis Recording Service on March 3rd, only to discover that Willie Kitzart's amplifier was damaged en route from Clarksdale to Memphis. The cone in the amplifier had burst, and the attempt to hold it in place with wadded-up newspaper produced a distorted sound that was kept on the record. In a 1986 Rolling Stone interview, Sam would say of the incident, "The more unconventional it sounded, the more interested I would become in it." But producing alone didn't make much money, and Sam could barely pay his bills. So in 1952, he decided to take the profits from the Chess Records release of Rocket 88, cut out the middleman, and distribute and record the songs himself in an effort to make more money. Sam had his own label, Sun Records, and he was ready to change the world. From the start, Sam was utterly drowning in talent, recording and releasing excellent cuts from blues, gospel, and country artists like Joe Hill Lewis, Rufus Thomas, Roscoe Gordon, the Prisonaires, Slim Rhodes, and Earl Peterson. But Sam was about to discover an artist like no other. An artist that was the perfect combination of black gospel blues and rhythm and blues and white hillbilly music that would launch Sun Records into the stratosphere. On July 18, 1953, an 18-year-old truck driver dropped by the studio under the guise of recording a song for his mother's birthday. Most historians now believe he just wanted to know what he sounded like on a record. The song he chose, My Happiness.
You say you're making this for your mother?
Yes, sir, Mr. Phillips. It's for her birthday.
Any training?
Well, no, sir. I started out with gospel in church.
Well, who do you sound like?
I don't sound like nobody, really.
Nobody really. Don't think I ever heard of him. Well, Mr. Presley, don't get too close to the mic. Remember the lyrics, and I got a feeling you're gonna do just fine.
Evening shadows make me blue.
Sam's secretary, Marion Keisker, was there that day and would proceed to pester Sam about giving Elvis a chance. A year later, Sam heard a demo record of a great song that was recorded in very poor quality called Without You. Without the name of the singer on the label, Sam finally gave Elvis a call to see if Elvis could tackle it. We now know the name of the artist on that demo record was Jimmy Sweeney. Elvis was there in an instant, and unfortunately wasn't able to get a good take. Still, Sam saw something in him and decided to put him together with two local musicians from a country band called Dexter Poindexter and the Starlight Wranglers that Sam had released a record on 2 months before. On July 4th, 1954, Elvis met up with bassist Bill Black and guitarist Scotty Moore at Scotty's house to run through some songs. The very next night, July 5th, 1954, Sam had the three guys down at Memphis Recording Service to see what they had come up with. This was supposed to be an informal audition, and it got off to a rocky start, but...
I thought you said he was ready.
I thought he was. Kick, kick, kick. Yeah. I'm slapping your ass, huh? Woo! Yeah, do it. Take it home. That's all right. That's all right. Well, Mama, she done told me. Papa done told me too. Son, that gal you
What is that?
with, she... It's a credit song.
Well, I know that.
Yes, sir.
Now, that sounds like something. Look, I don't know what you boys are doing, but you keep on doing it. I want to get some on tape.
About time.
You rolling?
After Sam's friend and DJ Dewey Phillips played That's Alright Mama on his radio show Red Hot and Blue on WHBQ, Elvis was off like a rocket, gaining larger and larger crowds as he played regionally with Scotty and Bill, who dubbed themselves the Blue Moon Boys. Between 1954 and 1955, Elvis released 5 singles, recording 19 songs in all at Sun. Elvis's growing fame became too hard for Sam to manage, and at the end of 1955, Sam sold his contract to RCA for $40,000. But Sam was already seeing other hopeful young singers arrive from around Memphis. It was the sale of Elvis's contract that helped Sam put money into some of his newest discoveries. 1956 turned out to be Elvis's breakout year, hitting big nationwide. In December of that year, Elvis, having just gotten back from playing Las Vegas for the first time, showed up at Sun just as a Carl Perkins recording session was winding down. Among other tracks Carl recorded that day was Matchbox. Playing piano on that session, as he had done on Billy Lee Riley's Flying Saucer Rock and Roll, was a 21-year-old with wavy blonde hair and more than enough talent to back up his arrogance, named Jerry Lee Lewis. Carl had already had enough of Jerry's arrogance that day, even later saying he denied him a piano solo on one of the tracks recorded that day, when Elvis came in. Soon the musicians started talking, then jamming on a few favorite songs, mostly gospel. Sam quickly realized this was a happening, so he called his other big star, Johnny Cash, to head down to the studio right away. Pictures were taken, a jam session continued, but unfortunately Johnny Cash had to leave early because he had to go Christmas shopping with his wife Vivian. No matter, the press would dub this legendary, historic jam session the $1 Million Quartet. With Elvis gone and more talent than he could handle, Sam found himself in an understandable predicament. Who gets what attention and when? Sam did a lot for his artists, but did exhibit some questionable business practices. When Carl Perkins had his big hit with Blue Suede Shoes, Sam called him up and told him to get down to the studio early. He had something to show him. When he got there, he told Carl to go to the car lot, and there gave him a Cadillac. Carl was ecstatic until he found out that the money for the Cadillac came from his cut of Blue Suede Shoes. Artists that didn't achieve as much mainstream attention as their label mates like Billy Lee Riley held a bit of resentment towards Sam for not promoting them more. But bruised egos could even be found among Sun's biggest names. Carl Perkins, in his autobiography, recalls a moment in which he, Johnny Cash, and Jerry Lee Lewis were hanging out at the studio. Johnny and Carl were loudly talking about how nice it would be to be a teen idol. Jerry, not even looking up from his comic book, exclaimed, "Yep. They didn't call him the Killer for nothing." Jerry Lee Lewis came to Memphis in 1956 seeking fame and fortune at Sun, having funded the trip by selling eggs door to door. Though he had previously been expelled from Bible school, he continued to struggle with the Bible and the devil's music, with Johnny Cash even recalling Jerry preaching to fellow musicians backstage about being sinners. Jerry Lee got a lion's share of attention, that's for sure. While Carl appeared alongside Jerry in rock and roll movies such as Jamboree, it was Jerry getting appearances on American Bandstand and The Steve Allen Show. Jerry's star continued to rise until Scandal hit. When Jerry moved to Memphis, he moved in with his cousin, J.W. Brown, who had agreed to be his bass player. J.W. lived in the suburbs with his wife, son Rusty, and his 13-year-old daughter Myra. This was about to prove to be a really bad plan. In May of 1958, Jerry set off on his first British tour. When Jerry and his band stepped off the plane at London's Heathrow Airport, the press were waiting. And it was there the truth was revealed to the world. Jerry had secretly married his 13-year-old cousin Myra. Though such actions were fairly normal in the Deep South, it horrified the press. Made worse was when it was revealed that Jerry was still married to his second wife at the time he married Myra. Jerry figured it was nothing, and it would all blow over. But the tour was canceled after only 3 shows, forcing Jerry and his crew back to the States, where he found the people here were just as outraged as they were in England. The first wave of rock and roll was marred in horrible circumstances that all seemed to occur within a short time of each other. Little Richard had turned his back on rock and roll to join the ministry. Elvis had been drafted. Chuck Berry had been arrested for violating the Mann Act. Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and J.P. the Big Bopper Richardson lost their lives in a tragic plane crash. And with Eddie Cochran's fatal car crash in 1960, rock and roll was in a bad way. Had Jerry's actions proved the degenerate nature of rock and roll in the eyes of parents horrified by the big beat? Jerry survived the scandal, having a long career that lasted until his death in 2022. But as the 60s dawned, the writing was on the wall for Sun Records. Recording moved from Sam's original studio in Memphis to a new state-of-the-art studio he built in Nashville. Jerry Lee left the label in 1963 for Smash Records. Johnny Cash and Carl Perkins had long since left for Columbia Records. And Roy Orbison was seeing far more success at Monument Records than he had at Sun. Sam wasn't exactly very happy that he was losing his discoveries to major labels. When Don Law from Columbia Records contacted Johnny Cash to discuss the possibility of him switching labels, at first Cash tried to keep it a secret from Sam. When Sam found out, he was furious. He was also upset when Roy left. Sam got Roy on the phone and let him have it. "Why, you little so-and-so, you can't even sing. I had to cram the microphone down your throat just to pick you up. Your voice is so weak." Johnny Cash would say both him and Roy laughed at him, which of course made him madder. By the mid-1960s, Sam had grown tired of the music business. In 1969, he sold Sun Records to Shelby Singleton. Some of the money Sam earned from the sale of Elvis went towards some shrewd investments that allowed Sam to amass a fortune. This included a major stake in Holiday Inn, as well as subsidiaries like Philips International Records. In 1977, he even stepped behind the mixing board once again to help his sons produce John Prine's album, Pink Cadillac. Sam has been portrayed in film and television numerous times, all actors giving a perfect portrayal of a man who lived and breathed music. There was Trey Wilson in Great Balls of Fire.
Yeah, but man, we can't put out a song like that. Man, it's too suggestive. Everybody knows a whole lot of shaking is what humping's all about.
Dallas Roberts in Walk the Line.
If you was hit by a truck and you was lying out in that gutter dying, and you had time to sing one song that would let God know what you felt about your time here on earth, one song that would sum you up, that's the kind of song that truly saves people. It ain't got nothing to do with believing in God, Mr. Cash. It has to do with believing in yourself.
Chad Michael Murray in Sun Records.
Oh,
Tell you what, give me something I ain't never heard.
Tim Guinea in 2005's Elvis.
No, first they gonna try and clean you up, son. Then they're gonna try and slick you up. You stay true to yourself. You know what you're doing now. You stay true to yourself, you'll be okay.
Charles Cyphers in the 1979 Elvis biopic starring Kurt Russell.
Hey, man. Well, if I can't find him, I'll find someone else. I want to release that song.
How about the kid with the sideburns?
What kid with the sideburns?
The kid you just heard sing.
Well, you know how to get in touch with him?
I just happen to have his phone number right here.
And the one I think came the closest to capturing Sam, Jordan Williams in Elvis from 1990.
Son, I got the program directors from the 6 biggest radio stations in the South out here. Big time concert promoters, too. You go out there and you do it like you did in the studio, and everything will be just as fine as a frog hair split right down the middle. Go on, do it now.
They all came close, but none of them could match the man himself. Sam died on July 30th, 2003. The very next day, Sun Studio was registered as a National Historical Landmark. Sam has left us, most of the artists have as well, but the music that came out of that little building at 706 Union 70 years ago is still more exciting than anything I'm hearing on the radio today. Thanks, Sam. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed my look back at Sun Records, please hit that subscribe button, and if you really want to be notified, hit that bell as well. I'm Brian, and I'll see you next time on Music Corner.